My name is David Daniel Bolt, and these are the headlines for Tuesday, the 17th of March 2009. Ninth Australian soldier killed in Afghanistan. Human remains found after croc attack. Police fear for sisters missing since Saturday. Family suing KFC after daughter crippled by salmonella. How much would Hamida Rahman's parents sue for? Fritzl pleads guilty to raping daughter. The belly button proves it, Pauline Hanson's naval challenge. A vote for Pauline is a vote for the ALP, which is why this is so important for certain press members. Punters can now place bets on Good Friday. Australia needs distressed debt market. Cops call to Lowen Ronson fight. Storm may help break up oil slick along Queensland coast. Will the natural disaster save Bligh from electoral death? Joe Biden drops the F-bomb. Alcopop's legislation teeters on the brink of failure. And in comments, why we must make drunkenness a crime. Sydney City turned into a violent zoo after the Mardi Gras, and alcohol is to blame, according to Alan Jones. How about some actual migrant number slashing? The serious economic news today is focusing on a so-called slashing of migrant numbers. From Chris Smith. There is nothing wrong with accepting migrants, Chris. The problem comes when the ALP manipulates immigration for political ends, and sometimes for their personal gratification. Derelict TAFE, silent witness to inept ALP from Piers Akerman, only died and the wool rusted on. True believers could still have faith in the New South Wales Labor government, which still has 2 years of its 4-year fixed term to run. Well, Piers, since the ALP came to office in '95, TAFE has cost more for each student and done less. It offers fewer courses and finds itself unable to accept people into courses for any of many reasons, mainly due to underfunding by the state. I know of some people who are missing out on TAFE courses because they are too far away from the institution that runs it, or because they are not needy enough. One friend of mine who could be an excellent social worker missed out on entering a course recently because his job network provider wouldn't give him high enough priority. He hadn't been unemployed for long enough. The ALP is a receptacle for union fees, including the education unions. Those unions have abrogated responsibility to their members and to the cause of education. It may be nice to have a government that views everything as a pork barrel, but as the tragic case of Hamida Rahman illustrates, there is no upside. Even Hurlstone Agricultural High School may be sold for cash if the government can engineer a reason. From Tim Blair. OReilly. Readers may remember Ward Riley, a prominent member of the Vietnam Veterans Against the War who turned out to not be a Vietnam vet after all. Rather, Riley enlisted with the 1st Infantry Division from 71 until 74, spent his Vietnam War years fighting the Kong across the bullet-strewn tropical deltas of Augsburg, Germany. Further claims about Riley's service are now made. Update. Finally, just 2 months ago and more than 30 years since he left the Army, Ward is able to fire a shot in anger. As an infantry veteran, I will proudly be throwing combat boots at Bush and Cheney as a going-away present to them on January the 19th. They have shamed our nation and they should both rot in prison for their crimes against the people of Iraq, Afghanistan and our Constitution. There is no record of Riley completing this mission. Water saved. Adelaide surgeon Dr. Paul Cowie champions a new environmentalist cause. We will save litres of water if more men were circumcised because there would be less fiddling in the water to keep it clean. Don't poke them, it's a form of torture. Mark Stein, instead of enemy combatants, how about future Facebook friends? Peaceful coastal living, daily life in Gaza looks nice, too bad about Hamas. Perfect title. Primitive joy at the launch of climate change movie The Age of Stupid. Pete Postlethwaite, who stars in the film as an archivist in 2050, looking back at the opportunities mankind had to stop climate change, will arrive in a solar-powered car. More at that link. The bad war was the good one and vice versa. By Andrew Bolt. A 9th Australian soldier was killed in Afghanistan. Casualties are rising, and it's Afghanistan, not Iraq, that is most likely to be our new Vietnam. Rudd must prosecute the war better or remove himself from it. Do these officials need more power or less? Not the news the Rudd government needs when it's trying to force through laws that give unions even greater rights to bully employers. A senior Victorian union official has been accused of assaulting an inspector of the Australian Building and Construction Commission as debate intensified yesterday over the future of the controversial body set up by the Howard government to curb union thuggery. Labour kills our gardens for good. As I wrote last year, even the Brumby government's $3.1 billion desalination plant won't give this growing city enough water. Cold facts. The hottest day in Melbourne since 1851 record was enough to have warming alarmists such as the ABC's John Fain prattling about global warming. If that's their proof, what do they make now of this news from Canada? So far this month, at least 14 major weather stations in Alberta have recorded their lowest ever March temperatures. I'm not talking about daily records, I mean they recorded their lowest temperatures they've ever seen in the entire month of March since temperatures began being recorded in Alberta in the 1880s. This past Tuesday, Edmonton International Airport reported an overnight low of minus 41.5 degrees centigrade, smashing the previous March low of minus 29.4 set in 1975. Wave goodbye to Brazen Bryce. Mike O'Connor waves off activist General Quentin Bryce. What you may wonder is the Governor-General of Australia and her staff doing heading off to Africa in a 5-star luxury, spending taxpayers' money by the truckload at a time when back home the dole queues lengthen by the day. Well, she's promoting the ALP, of course. Why is Hewson still talking? Paul Sheehan, like me, is astonished that John Hewson has the hide to be giving advice on business or politics to anyone, let alone Peter Costello. When it comes to authority in the world of business and politics, Hewson is a dead man talking. Only one field would treat this resume as a qualification for authority, the media. And so it was that Hewson provided the most lurid example thus far of the self-generated, self-feeding media speculation around Costello for the past month. And from Bill O'Reilly, vast left-wing conspiracy fires up. Writing in the Wall Street Journal Friday, Scott Rasmussen, perhaps the most accurate pollster in America, reported that President Obama's job approval rating has now slipped below that of President Bush back in March 2001. Now, this is to be expected. Mr. Obama inherited a terrible economic mess that will take years to correct. But Americans are not a patient people, and the president is very aggressively spending tax money. So we, the people, want to see results fast. There is no question that until the economy begins improving, the president's poll numbers will be under pressure. But now we learn that a vast left-wing conspiracy is firing up to help him. According to excellent reporting by Politico.com, perhaps the best political website in the world, organized hard left zealots joined together in a daily morning conference call to discuss the day's events, coordinating briefings to the liberal media and designing punishment for anyone criticizing President Obama or left-wing doctrine in general. The group is hosted by the Center for American Progress, led by John Podesta, a former Clinton advisor. The calls are often highlighted by a variety of people, including Jennifer Palmieri, another CAP official, and former CNN reporter Jack Shenner, now a Labour spokesperson. According to Politico, the call begins at 8:45 a.m. and is called to order by Tara McGuinness, a veteran Liberal activist. Politico quotes Mr. Shenner, again a former CNN reporter, as saying the group goes after those with whom they disagree. There's a coordination in terms of exposing people who are trying to come out against reform. They've all got backgrounds and histories and past, and it's not taking long to unearth that and to unleash that, because we're all working together. The Factor has learned that the intimidation cabal, entities receiving information, includes Media Matters, elements at NBC News, and at the New York Times, so you can see the vast left-wing conspiracy, armed with unlimited funds and unlimited hatred, are gunning for anyone they deem a threat. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a threat to America, and the Obama administration would be wise to avoid this crew. If the new administration gets involved in this, it would be like the Nixon dirty trick squad. Talking Points is disgusted by the rank hatred on display in the political arena. We have hammered the New York Times and NBC for their lack of standards and their corruption. Now we learn that the hatred is being well coordinated. This is obviously a serious situation that we will continue to investigate. And that's the memo.